Good evening. Welcome to This Week in Review. Tonight's stories include
doing those things, or it might.
There's been a lot of talk concerning the senior center around Burgeo game this week. The rails were put in place on the new Smalls Island Bridge this past week. Most of the work has been completed on the actual bridge. Now, Parsons Trucking have to come back in and backfill the access to and from the bridge. As well, they have to remove the causeway. First term progress reports were sent home at St. John Central High last Friday and at A.J. Matthews Elementary School on Monday. Benoit, your first term progress reports at A.J. Matthews went home on Monday. How was the progress for the first term?
Overall, I was very pleased with the progress throughout the school. Now, there are some students that we're still concerned about. We're concerned about a number each year. There's always students that are not working as hard as we'd like to see them, or not putting as much effort into it as they can. However, generally speaking, most students do well, and there's a lot of support from the home. It's nice to see that continue. But remember, first term is usually a lot of revision from the previous year, and it's the term when children generally work their hardest. So I'd like to caution parents to remember that and to continue giving lots of support to the students so that they will continue to do well.
Okay. How did this year's progress compare with that for last year?
I would say it's basically the same. Now, I've never been in the position to look at all progress reports as I am right now, but as a teacher on staff and discussions that we've had among our staff, I would think that progress is basically on par with previous years.
I understand you had a little bit of confusion with the primary report card.
There was some confusion. Our primary report card this year, we're using it for the very first time. It required a lot more work from individual teachers, and the report card didn't give letter grades or anything for parents on the section. This is the insert that went into this is the report card, and this insert went in with the progress report card. On one side of the insert, teachers outlined all the objectives of what they did in each subject area for that term. On the other side, they commented on how well students did on that particular subject. For some parents, this could be confusing because lots of times we like to compare how our child did in relation to some other child. This is an individual progress report, and it tells you exactly how your child is doing. and there's not very much room for you to compare with another child. So for those parents that like to look and say, well, how did your child do in relation to mine? The room is not there for that anymore, and I think that's good, because I think you should look at your child as an individual and not worry about how somebody else did. If your child did well, be proud of him. But the section that there was a little bit of confusion with, Dave, is on the social skills and development. Now, this is a very important part of the progress report. It's called personal and social development. Many children do well academically, but have some problems in personal and social development, or vice versa. But there's a key at the top of this card I'd like to bring to your attention and to the parents' attention. The key says, number 1, not yet a parent. Number 2, beginning to develop. Number 3, developed. And number 4, highly developed. Now, that's a very positive type of key, because we're not focusing on anything negative about the child. Some children develop at different stages, or some develop earlier than others, and some develop quicker than others. Now, number 1 says not yet a parent. That doesn't mean that your child is not behaving or that there's anything wrong with your child in school. It just means that as yet, the teacher is not seeing your child doing those things. Or it might mean he needs a little bit more help in that area. Beginning to develop, usually at grade 1 and grade 2 level, students are beginning to develop in completing their work on time, following directions. This is something that's ongoing. And at the beginning of primary level students, most people are only beginning to develop there. So if your child got a 2 instead of a 4, that's quite normal. A number of children probably, by the time you get to grade 2 or 3, you may get some 3s which say developed. Now, exercises self-control. That's a pretty hefty thing. Some children take probably grade 6 before they can exercise self-control. So don't be too concerned about those 2, 3s like that, because what it's saying is that your child's still developing in that area. Highly developed, few primary children are highly developed. Only a very few would get 4s. So if your child got 2s and 3s, you consider that normal throughout the school, or throughout the primary grades. As well as that, there's always this room for the teacher discretion. Some teachers in individual classrooms, for example, if you are in a grade 1 classroom, you may have different expectations of a child than a teacher in a grade 3 classroom. So there's room there for some subjectiveness on the teacher's part. And if you're comparing children from 2 different grades, you also have to look at the teacher and say, is the teacher comparing the same way? Or is she comparing in relation to a thing? At the school level, I think that is something that all of us, the staff and I, have to look at and work on a bit, so there can be consistency among the staff and how we deal with that aspect of the report card. This, like I said, this was our first time using it, and as a result, we didn't foresee any problem with it, but there was some confusion there in that area for parents.
Okay. You had open house on Tuesday and Wednesday afternoon. What kind of turn did you have?
Actually, we had 2 very nice days for open house this year, and I was very impressed with the number of parents that came. Overall, I would say we had about a 90% turnout in the school, and that shows me that parents are very concerned about their children's education and are really supporting the school. I'm pleased to see such a good turnout, and I hope that parents will continue to show that kind of support. That speaks a very loud message to the children. It says, we care about what you're doing, and it tells the teachers they care as well. So it's nice to get that kind of support.
How many students did you have registered for kindergarten from 92 and 93 here?
Well, we're down quite a bit from previous years. This is probably our very lowest kindergarten registration in the past 12, 15 years. We have 19 registered at present for next year, and last year there were 26, and before that there was more than that. We'll be having 53 grade 6s going out next year, so you can see that we're going to be losing teachers again with declining enrollment. It means that we lose teachers when this happens.
Is there anything new happening at your school?
There's always a number of things happening. Right now on our agenda, our teachers we had a meeting yesterday to discuss our school float. We'll be participating in that again this year, and we're also going to be participating in a Christmas concert. The elementary students will be involved in a Christmas concert this year, and our primary teachers decided they would go with the spring concert. So it'll be new, the fact that elementary students are going to be involved more than primary this year. But one of the things that our staff and I are focusing on this year is improving the environment in our school. We've talked quite a lot about it this year, and we're trying to put some things in place that will change some attitudes in school, improve the discipline, and make our school a much better place to be. Now that's a long-term goal, and it takes time, but we hope that we'll see some improvement there by the end of this year. I'd also like to mention that at this point in time, we have a guidance counselor on staff. She's in Burgeo every second day. I have a copy of her schedule here at the school, and if any parents would like to contact her or need some assistance from her, it's only a matter of giving the school a call, and we can arrange a meeting for parents. At the next PTA, or Home and School Association meeting, she's scheduled to attend and do a little presentation. And it would be nice to see a lot of parents there in attendance, because she has something to offer parents. I think it's a very good program.
Okay, thank you for speaking.
Well, thank you for giving.
It was brought to my attention this past week that there's a rather unusual substance floating around in the water near the trailer court.
Okay, Dave, this is the problem we got here with this, I don't know what you call it, this apple from the plant, or herring oil or something like that. I've been here now for about, I guess close to 2 months, drifting along the shore, and not as bad now as what it had been, as the wind was off for a few days, and most of it was down to the reach. But apart from that, there were days that were these 2 holes there, just like they were frozen over. It was all white with blubber coming from the plant. It created a terrible smell along with that. And since it's been coming in there have been 3 or 4 trailers that have problems with rats around. You know, council have been approached about this, along with sea freeze and the environment in Corner Brook. And this was a couple of weeks ago, I guess. This was the last time they were aware of it, and what's being done with it, there's nothing so far. So I guess what we're really wanting to know, I suppose, is when will there be something done about it, and will it be cleaned up? Because by the time the summer comes, it won't be fit to live up here. It's bad enough as it is now. But when you get a hot days, and this is just going to be ridiculous, and the stink is going to be too strong. You won't be able to stay in your trailer as far as that goes, or even come down the trailer court. You can see yourself there that it's a terrible damn mess, and I wish that the sea freeze would do something about it and try to get this cleaned up, apart from correcting the problem at the plant, wherever it's causing this, you know, because it's absolutely ridiculous. I wish something could be done about it as soon as possible, as far as that goes. It's all the way out through the gut there, and all down along be the reach. And when the wind is up east there, when they're putting this through the plant, there's stuff coming from various seafoods in Corner Brook. When the wind is up east, all this winds up this whole. And it's, like you say now, it's not as bad, but before, a couple of weeks ago, it was 10 times worse than this.
I went to Seafreeze in hopes of speaking to Mr. Coley regarding this matter, but he was not in at that time. Hopefully, now that workers are nearly completed with the plant roof, workers will no longer have to dodge raindrops inside the plant.
This year, the theater arts class decided to do their role play or part of their course based on some of the social issues that teenagers are often exposed to in today's society. And two of the things that they decided to take a look at, because they voted on several, I think when we started off with how many problems teenagers have, we generalized them into a category of about 15. So then we had to say, okay, which ones would the group like to do? So it ended up that it came down to two groups, and one of the issues that they decided to look at and do some research on was concerning date rape. And the second one that they decided to take a look at were drugs. So the first one you're going to see is called You Have the Right to Say No. And it, in itself, I think, tells of some of the problems that particularly girls, although I don't want to be sexist here and say that usually rape is a girl, because it could be a male, but in most cases, the male being usually the more dominant species, it usually ends up being the female that has to look at that type of problem.
They say a lot of things, Dr. Ray, but I never thought of that. I don't know what they all should be looking for. The opportunity occurred, and I just took advantage of it. How you doing, boys? So, a year with the new girl, Jen, or what?
Yeah, I heard of her, but I haven't seen her yet.
It's one like you, man. Yeah, I seen her walk down with Jack or something. Yes, what's she like?
Oh my God, Jan, this place is so big. I don't think I want to go there.
It's not so bad as what you think it is.
Yeah, but I'm a stranger, and people don't usually take kindly to strangers.
You say, well, come on over, I'll introduce you to our friends.
Hi, Diane. That's Trudy. And y'all are not Sam.
Whoa. Wouldn't I ever love to get there?
What a piece of gear.
Who never loved her? Hey, boys, give it up, man. She's a girl.
Come on now. She's going.
No, man, she's going. You know what I mean? Hey, you said it.
Tell you what, let's go here.
You got a dime on you?
Yeah, I've got 10 cents piece.
Hey, man, who cares how it is as long as you got a hand in town?
Oh, it's got a bell. Caught there.
Hey,
It's finished.
yes, baby. Whoa! I got a hand.
We friends.
I don't know, just can't do it.
You want one?
Yeah. All right. See you later.
Last season, the hockey teams at the rink were really excited about going on a ice hockey tournament to St. George's. Due to unforeseen circumstances, however, the tournament had to be cancelled at that time. This tournament has since been rescheduled to November 30th, and VBS will be there to cover it. Many of these hockey players will be playing for their first time on artificial ice. Be sure and tune in next week to see just how they make out. Well, that's it for tonight's program. We hope you enjoyed it. Please stay tuned now for the bandwagon. This bandwagon was filmed primarily by new volunteers, so please overlook any little flaws. On behalf of BBS and BBS volunteers, I'm Dave Cooper. Have a great week. Good night.
Fade renew.
Graphics are nice, some graphics.
Only one graphic this week, all right, Dave?
I'll tell you something. Last week's camera was about CIMRI.